Another war seems imminent. President Trump informed Congress that military action against Iran began on the 7th, essentially stating the war has started. Well, let's take a closer look at this today.
Let's take a look right away.
President Trump officially notified Congress in a letter sent on July 10 to Senator Chuck Grassley, the acting president pro tempore of the Senate, that military action against Iran had begun on the 7th, effectively announcing that the war with Iran had resumed. The letter said this was a process to give Congress required information under the War Powers Act. This means that the White House is defining this military operation as an action based on the president's constitutional authority and is also following the legal procedures. The White House is defining the operation as a military action based on the president's constitutional authority.
여기서 전쟁권한법을 살펴볼 필요가 있습니다.
The U.S. president may conduct overseas military operations for up to 60 days without Congress's prior approval, but must get approval to extend them. Notably, President Trump stated in the letter that the military action began on the 7th. Some analysts suggest that by creating room for interpretation that this is a new military operation separate from previous clashes, there may be an intention to recalculate the 60-day period. Of course, such questions may arise. Armed conflicts began at the end of February when the US got involved, so hasn't it been over 60 days already? The White House differentiates between the ceasefire and renewed military action, viewing this as a new phase. Whether this interpretation will be accepted is a separate issue, but it is clear that they are operating under the legal framework of a new military action. The War Powers Act has long been controversial for its effectiveness. In actual history, there have been several instances where presidents continued military operations beyond 60 days, and there have not been many cases where Congress succeeded in stopping them immediately. If Congress passes a resolution to stop military action and the president vetoes it, overriding the veto needs over 2/3 approval in both the House and Senate. Since the threshold is so high, it's hard to force the president to halt military action. Considering this, it is widely believed that this congressional notification also maintains legal formality while maximizing the president's military discretion. Ironically, something has come up this time. President Trump called the US the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz on Truth Social and said he would charge a 20% fee on all cargo passing through, citing ship security as the reason. This isn't just about charging Iranian ships 20%. All ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz would have to pay the United States a 20% fee as a protection charge. While the United States had strongly criticized Iran for imposing tolls on merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz, now the US is proposing to collect fees under the pretext of ensuring the safety of the strait, which is further escalating tensions in the area. This is likely to cause significant confusion internationally. President Trump announced he will give a national address on the 16th. Outlets like Axios report the address will likely focus on the issue with Iran. In Korea, it will be at 10 a.m. on July 17th.
The address is scheduled.
The White House has not revealed the address's contents yet. However, since airstrikes have continued in recent days and the resumption of military action has been made official, there is growing attention to the possibility that new policies or additional measures related to Iran may be announced. In particular, this speech is expected to be an important opportunity to see what direction the US government will take in the future. The speech may also address the potential expansion of military operations and the possibility for further diplomatic negotiations. Predictions in and outside the US say the Middle East could be greatly impacted by this speech's tone, so the world is closely watching the announcement. Next, President Trump went on the conservative Hugh Hewitt show and took an even tougher stance. He suggested that the airstrikes might not be a one-time response, but could continue, saying that they would strike hard tonight and tomorrow as well. He also added that there is nothing they can do about it. He said they can't do anything, that all they can do is shout loudly, strongly criticizing Iran's military response capabilities. It is also being interpreted as a statement meant to emphasize, both domestically and internationally, that the United States holds military superiority. When asked if he knew the location of Iranian leaders and if they could be eliminated, President Trump said yes. He added that he didn't want to discuss the issue further, but said, "We are definitely watching closely." He didn't publicly deny the possibility of eliminating the target, but avoided mentioning specific military plans. Then he said that instead of eliminating them, we are striking them to make an example of them, emphasizing that the ongoing airstrikes also serve as a warning. President Trump also explained in considerable detail the process by which the negotiations broke down. He said that until the day before, the agreement was nearly final and success seemed very likely. He explained that after the negotiating team got a sudden phone call and left, the situation changed quickly. At the same time, he once again confirmed his previous position that Iran does not keep its promises and that the agreement cannot be trusted. These remarks may aim to show the international community that Iran, not the United States, is responsible for the negotiation breakdown. President Trump also gave a meaningful assessment of the Memorandum of Understanding on Ending the War, or MOU. He said that this document was created to test Iran. He explained that from the beginning, it was not a final peace agreement, but rather a process to confirm whether the other party was truly willing to fulfill their promises. He went on to claim that Iran did not honor that test and did not keep its promises, making it clear that there is no longer any reason to maintain the MOU. These remarks are also being interpreted as a signal that more emphasis will be placed on military pressure rather than future negotiations. As a result, the entire Hormuz region is now a battlefield. U.S. Central Command, under the Commander-in-Chief's orders, launched nighttime airstrikes on Iran for the third straight day at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time. They said the airstrikes would keep inflicting major damage on the Iranian military and reduce their ability to attack civilians and merchant ships in the Hormuz region. Meanwhile, Iran continues attacking ships in the Hormuz region. This time, 2 UAE oil tankers were hit by missiles, causing casualties. Reuters reports the UAE Ministry of Defense stated that Iranian cruise missiles attacked the oil tankers Mombasa and Al Bahia while they traveled 50 nautical miles along the southern route of Hormuz. In this attack, 1 Indian crew member aboard the Mombasa was killed, and a total of 8 people were injured, including 6 Indian crew members and 2 Ukrainian crew members. Among them, 4 are reported to be in serious condition. Fires also broke out on the 2 attacked oil tankers, but the crew members managed to extinguish them on their own, preventing further damage. It is especially noteworthy that all the victims and injured are crew members from third countries. Because foreign crew members from countries other than the US and Iran have been affected, the conflict's impact is reaching neighboring nations. The UAE government also responded swiftly and firmly. The UAE Ministry of Defense defined this attack as an explicit act of aggression by Iran, stated that it has the full right to respond to actions that escalate tensions. It went on to discuss the nation's security and stability. The UAE Ministry of Defense calls it a clear act of aggression by Iran. The UAE Ministry of Defense calls the attack an explicit act of aggression by Iran, says it has responded and is ready to take all necessary measures. This is being interpreted as leaving open the possibility of a military response. Concerns about civilian vessel safety in the Strait of Hormuz are rising. Shipping companies and the maritime industry in each country are also closely monitoring the local situation. The main focus now is on how Iran will respond. At this point, there are still several options available for them to choose from. First, there is the possibility of missile or drone attacks targeting US troops and US military bases stationed throughout the Middle East.
Iraq and
Syria and the Gulf region have several major military facilities operated by the United States, so there is a possibility that Iran may apply pressure either directly or indirectly. In addition, there is analysis that Iran could target US military facilities or logistical support bases, as before, using suicide drones and cruise missiles, which have been used more frequently on the battlefield recently. On top of that, the movements of pro-Iranian armed groups that have maintained cooperative relations with Iran are also a variable.
Iraq and Syria.
If pro-Iranian militias in Syria, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Houthi rebels in Yemen act together, conflict may spread beyond one region. Clashes between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis have already occurred, and attacks on Israel are possible. Iran has labeled Israel and the United States as main enemies. If the conflict drags on, direct attacks with ballistic missiles or drones, or indirect attacks by pro-Iranian groups could resume. Israel has raised its missile defense system to the highest level and increased military readiness. If a major attack on Israeli territory occurs, US military intervention could become even more likely. There is a possibility that it could expand even further, and some are observing that the entire Middle East could enter a new phase.